Hey all, just a short video. I told you I promised I'd do a couple. I'm going to try to do one for chapter 4, one for chapter 5, one for chapter 6, which will give you a hints on the problems, I think, which are the harder part of the assignment. So again, I sent a note out. I hope you got it. This is the worst week. I we get the homework assignments out first, but the everyone's tendency is to put it off until you do the lecture, and so we're doubling up on everything this week. And so hang in there. I recognize that it's a lot of work. It'll get easier after this week, especially if you don't get behind. And that's all I'll say about that. So chapter 4, again, I changed. Chapter 4, 5, and 6 is homework. So check out the new assignments and the new problems, and I think it'll be a little easier. Basically, the problems assigned now are chapter 4, problem 25, so 4-25. With that problem, what they're asking for essentially in the beginning of that is a chart or an exhibit like Exhibit 4.4 in the book. So they're asking you to lay out the direct or the labor pools for two different departments within this imaginary company. And if you can get through that, I think the rest of it is pretty straightforward. It's just a calculation of the dollars per machine hour. And the second one, the finishing department, the answer should be in a percentage, not in dollar amounts, because you're allocating it based on direct manufacturing labor costs. So on 426, I had mentioned in class that a lot of service industries, particularly law firms, accounting firms, use a job cost system, and 426 lays out again. They're going to ask first for a diagram, which is again that diagram that's in Exhibit 4.4, showing the flow of how costs go to jobs. So make sure you do that and then work through the problems. They're asking you to calculate the costs on two different jobs. That is how we used to do it exactly in the accounting firm. We would allocate not only the direct labor costs, in other words, the billing hours and rates charged to that job, but we also picked up indirect labor, office labor, because keep in mind that in order to bill in this situation, most people will do a cost plus type of billing, and you have to pick up all the costs in the individual jobs, otherwise you go broke pretty fast. You have to recoup the office labor piece of a job in an accounting firm or a law firm. Problem 430 is a little different. It's going to ask you to do T accounts. I can tell you that even now, after 35 years in this accounting world, that I still use T accounts when I'm trying to think through a problem. So hopefully you're getting a piece of that as you work through the program, that T accounts are beneficial and to use T accounts are beneficial. But basically, all they're asking you to do is take a look at what you do with under allocated or over allocated overhead and how that gets charged. And they make a comment even in this problem, which is true, that most of the times organizations will write off any under or over allocation to the income statement. The last problem I think is a good problem, 435. You're going to face some ethical questions here. I want to explain some of the data that's in that because I think it can be kind of confusing. So the data at the top of problem 435 is the actual data from the company. In other words, how much it costs them to make a single modular unit. And the data that's below, the invoice that's found, keep in mind that that's for 200 units. So the top information is for 1 unit. I'm going to flip over to that as I'm talking to you. So Direct materials, $9,500. Direct manufacturing labor, $704. Manufacturing overhead, 2,464. That cost is for a single one bedroom model. So don't get confused by that. You're preparing an invoice for 150. And then what's on the bottom of that same page, hopefully you can see this, isn't this high tech? But basically on the bottom, the invoice that they found that they had sent to FEMA in the past. There's a couple of things I'll note. There's a mistake, at least one mistake on that invoice. In other words, there was an error in how they billed it. And also that it's for 200 emergency huts, not 150. So what they're asking you to do is compare how you would invoice under one versus invoicing under two, and then figure out what's different between the two and what you should do with that. It's an ethical and an accounting question. So I'm going to post about chapter 5 and 6, and hopefully these hints will help you.